All right, so we're picking up with the keyword analysis and the sentiment analysis. We've already produced the tokens. You can find these. You can verify this if your project folder has these tokens files. Right? So the second and third script are going to use these two token files, not the original text, to do the keyword and the sentiment analysis. So if you have produced those tokens files, then we're going to move on to script 2 and 3. I'll show you script 3 first because it's faster, and then I'll show you script 2. So for the sentiment analysis, I'm just going to calculate the overall sentiment score for the two documents. So again, we're going back to Jupyter Notebook. Let's go to 3, sentiment analysis. Open that up. I just did a very simple sentiment analysis here. We're doing kind of generation 1 positive, negative sentiment analysis because just to give you some options for our in addition to the keyword analysis, but in the text analysis class, in the coming weeks, we're going to do a much more kind of advanced type of sentiment analysis, not just positive or negative, but different types of sentiment. So this is just the simplest version. So again, if you hit, we're going to import from this library text blob, which does the sentiment analysis. If you have not installed that yet, you'll need to run this code and install the text blob library, but I've installed it, so I will comment that out and just run import the library. Okay, then here with data path, right, the data path is still the same. My file structure is the same, but here the file name, which I'm importing, is let me do Rivian first and Liado second. So I'm going to import tokens Rivian.txt, and I'm going to comment this out. I'll do this one later. Right? And so I can verify it's the Rivian's tokens file. I'll grab the suffix, which is Rivian. I'll open the file, read the lines into the tokens folder, and I've just imported my 34,000 tokens for Rivian, right? And just to show you what those look like, these are the first 100 of those, right? So these are cleaned, parsed, short, all short case, made lowercase, lemmatized, everything, right? So this is the set of tokens that I'm actually going to do analysis on. So, okay, analysis. So to do the sentiment analysis, I'm going to take all these tokens, separate tokens which are in a list, and I'm going to recombine them into a single string. So I do that here, and now you can see this is before. Yeah, so now I've combined all the tokens into a single string with a space in between each of them, and then I will create a blob object and get the polarity score -1 for negative sentiment, 1 for positive sentiment. And the sentiment score for Rivian is 0.0658. So it's on the positive side, right? It's more positive than negative, but not highly positive. It's a fairly neutral document, slightly positive leaning, right? So I just save that down here. Yeah, Rivian here, and I just commented it out. Actually, I can make this markdown. Well, I'm not going to. Let's keep the code for now. Okay, so we've collected the score here for Rivian. Now let's go back up and do the score for Liado. So now I'm going to comment out the Rivian one and open up Liado. Comparing that. Right, I just imported the 84,000 tokens. Right. Again, a lot of the tokens look the same because it's a security exchange 30. And Li Auto score is this 0.0688, right, which I have recorded down here. So these are the two sentiment scores. They're both pretty similar, right? The auto one is slightly more positive, but basically like identical. So that's the sentiment analysis in a nutshell. What I would ask you to do with this assignment, now that you've calculated overall sentiment, you might take 2 or 3 comparable sections of the two documents and calculate the sentiment scores for these portions. So, for example, if you go to the if we go to the table of contents, which sections do you think would be more positive or negative? So I'm looking here to say like risk factors, right? Quantitative and qualitative disclosures about market risk. Maybe some of these sections on risk. I'm curious if their sentiment for these sections is more, negative perhaps, whereas business or looking forward statements are more positive. So let's look at the looking forward statements and the risk factors sections. So here, the looking forward statements, it's just this little section here, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to copy this, the looking forward. This is for Rivian, right? And I'm going to create a new text file. So, and I'll save this to my data folder. I'm going to save it as Rivian forward, and then save it as a txt. And I'm going to create one more summary risk factors. Where is that section? Up to the top. I wanted to look at the risk factors. Yeah. Okay, so here's risk factors. Take it down through 1B. These risk factors are pretty long. Did I miss something? Just checking to make sure that this is all risk factors. This is a pretty long section. Let's look at the pages. I want to go just make sure. So risk factors runs from page 12. All right. 12 to 48. So it's long. So it's from page 12 to page 48. So yeah, so let's grab that. Here's risk factors. Go down to page 48. 24. It's a long section. (42, 44, 5, 6, 7, 8). Okay, all the way up to here. I'm gonna take that, save it as another one. Let's call this Rivian risk. So there, I've got the forward and the risk. So I just want you to take, like, you don't have to do Li-Auto, and you could do like one Li-Auto, one Rivian, or but I just want you to kind of pick some sections that where you think that the sentiment would differ, right? So select 2 to 3 comparable sections of the two documents and calculate the sentiment scores. So the thing is, if you want to calculate the sentiment scores, we can use the sentiment analysis script, but we'd have to import the new file. Plus, it's better to run the sentiment analysis on the tokens rather than the raw text. So let's go back. To do that, we're going to need this pre-processed tokens. Right? So we're going to have to run script 1 and then script 3. Just making sure I can run on battery. So first, I'm going to go down here and change the file name, right, to Rivian forward. Make sure that it's spelled exactly the same. So this Rivian forward, and the other one was Rivian risk, right? So I'm gonna just run this on Rivian forward first. Now I'm gonna do something I haven't showed you yet. I'm gonna run this, restart the kernel, then run the whole notebook. So I'm gonna just click here, and it's gonna restart this page and run the whole thing. I'm just making sure. So it's running it on Rivian forward, and you can see they're all stars here, right? So, and I'll just go down to the very bottom. And when these stars are all gone, that means this page has been run, the whole thing. Right? Okay, so the whole page has been run, and if you check here, you can see Rivian. I have Rivian forward, but I also have the tokens for Rivian forward. How many tokens did I have? From 636 to 265, and 143 unique tokens. Okay, I'm going to go back up here quickly. Now I'm going to comment out Rivian forward, and I'm going to run Rivian risk. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to restart the kernel, rerun the whole notebook. And we should be running on Rivian risk here in a second. All right, on all stars now. Just double checking we're running on the file Rivian risk. Right? Okay, it's Rivian risk, and we'll just wait till the stars are gone. All done. So Rivian's risk, it output to tokens Rivian risk. So here you can see now I've got tokens Rivian risk, right? And now you can see it's a good idea to have the data all in one place and not mixed with the scripts. But now I've got so many files. So I'm going to go back to sentiment 3, sentiment analysis to script 3. Here I'm going to run sentiment analysis on, right, make sure the file names are correct. Rivian tokens underscore Rivian underscore forward and risk. Right, so I'm going to run it on the forward one. Same thing. I'm going to restart the kernel, run the whole thing. I've got stars. So when these stars are gone, I'll know that it's done. Okay. Okay, so you can see for Rivian forward, right, it's a bit more optimistic than the average. So the original, I'm just going to put the Rivian overall is 0.06, but Rivian forward is a little bit more optimistic, right, 0.72. Now let's go back up here and run it on the risk section and see Restart and run. We'll see. Is it more negative? We'll find out. Yep. So not much, but it is it is less positive, right, than the average. So I mean, I didn't run these before, so I wasn't sure. But you can see we order these, right? The risk is the least positive. On average, it's 0.658. The risk section is a little bit more less positive, and the sentiment, the forward section is a little bit more positive, right? Not huge differences, but again, remember this is a government document. It's not like a marketing advertisement, right? So it's almost neutral in tone, but slightly positive, right? And we do notice some interesting differences. And I would say that this my guess is that this forward, minus the risk, right, from 0.072 to 0.063, that's almost one whole percentile, of sentiment of polarization here. So I'm guessing that would be statistically significant. We could talk about the significance of sentiment scores at another time. But that's what I'd like you to do for this part of the assignment, right? Do Rivian and Li auto, and then try two different sections that you think would be maybe more positive or more or less positive. Okay, I'm going to end the tutorial for sentiment analysis here. I'll stop the video, and you can look at the next video on if you need to go back and do keyword analysis, you can look at that video separately.